Hello, Estevão. Great to have you on Space Talks. Can you tell about yourself, please?
Hello, Jay. Hello, everyone watching. My name is Estevão Rolim. I'm the founder, co-founder, and current chair of SEDS Brazil. And yeah, today we're going to talk about how SEDS Brazil is being established and how we're working on SEDS Brazil development and projects development and everything else.
That's awesome. Can you tell us about the history and establishment of SEDS Brazil?
Yes, I've become keen to SEDS. I've met SEDS in a competition happening here in Brazil. It was being promoted by a National Astrophysics Laboratory from Brazil, and they had this competition that you should choose an astronomical object, and you would be observed by a telescope in Chile. You should choose like an object that actually was in certain specifications, and it should be like you should have a specific magnitude and size and everything else. And then I've met SEDS because this competition, this laboratory recommended database maintained by SEDS USA. And then I started reading about it and all the projects you guys develop, we develop, and I've realized how incredible this project is and this organization is, and SEDS Earth is, SEDS USA is, SEDS Spain is. And then I started to make contact. I actually just sent an email saying like, oh, can I help in something? Can I, post things in Facebook or at least do something? I've loved this project, and I would love to participate in some way. And then they just told me, okay, you could start SEDS Brazil. And I started developing like a document, saying everything that should be made and everything that would be necessary to actually establish SEDS Brazil. It was accepted. It was people from SEDS USA and SEDS Earth liked the idea, and then we are finally here, finally started, finally founded SEDS Brazil. The idea of SEDS Brazil is actually uniting Brazilian students because we don't actually have communication. There's a lot of projects and researchers that are doing like that have like awesome ideas and that are doing awesome projects, but they are not connected. So if I want to do something great and you also want to do something great, if we want to do something even better and bigger, we should actually talk to each other. And this actually and currently does not exist in Brazil. So having SEDS Brazil is the opportunity of actually starting a new way of looking to science and looking to technology and space development, exploration. So SEDS is just like exactly what Brazil is needing actually and currently in space development, technology, space policy, everything. We don't have actually any size in the space industry. If we talk about like world scale, Brazil is just like, okay, we did one or two projects in space, involving space, but every project we do is in partnership with other country where the other country does the major work, and we just like do basic research. SEDS actually can change this scenario and offer different opportunities for students and researchers in Brazil that actually want to do something greater.
Oh, that sounds like quite a journey for SEDS Brazil. I'm sure there might have been many challenges faced by you and SEDS Brazil. Can you tell about them? Like what kind of challenges have you faced till now?
Yeah, the main problem of establishing something like that in Brazil is that we are used to see new projects and innovative projects outside of Brazil. Like, oh God, this is incredible. If someone builds like a rocket in USA and send it to Mars, if Elon Musk is building like has SpaceX and is building a rocket to send 1,000 people to Mars, Brazilians look at it and say, "Oh my God, this is incredible." But if we have the opportunity to build something like that and to actually work on something like that here in Brazil, we actually have this kind of culture that stops the innovation. So people have a little bit of difficulty in looking to new things and actually building new things. It's not easy to do something greater and newer, innovative, but it's possible. And we don't have this kind of thinking here in Brazil. So the main struggle is to convince people that they can do something, that they can work on something like that, that they may be able to someday send 1,000 people to Mars or even more. So having SEDS Brazil is, as I said, the opportunity to change the way we look to technology and science. But the main struggle, the main challenge is to actually convince people that they can do this and to actually show people that their work, their struggle, their research will actually someday serve to something. It will help someone. It will help themselves. It will help their family, their friends, and showing how the space exploration works and the space development works and what is being done in other SEDS chapters, SEDS nations, is really important to actually show how we can use these experiences and other examples to build something greater, to build something different. The main challenge is that people cannot believe they are not able to see new, difficult, different as something possible. We are like living in a country, unfortunately, that just looks to science as something from foreign countries, from first world countries. And we are basically, with this thinking, with this kind of thoughts, condemned to stay where we are and stay where we are in this sense, in the meaning of stay where we are in space development, stay where we are in science development, stay where we are in technology development. If we don't have this new culture, this new way of thinking, we will never be able to build something greater. And it works when you think about SES Brazil, but it also works when you think about any other country that is in the same conditions. You have a lot of countries that are like third world countries and that actually have this same problem with convincing themselves that they can build something greater. And having this kind of projects, this kind of examples may work, may help building something greater. So if we can do a great organization here in Brazil, if SEDS Brazil actually can someday send someone to the moon or to ISS or to Mars, we may be able to show other countries that this is possible. We're not condemned to stay where we are.
That is a wonderful initiative, Estevão. What steps has Brazil taken to integrate the modern culture of innovation and technology into the uh, student fabric and into the organization's projects and events? And how do you conduct your events as well as projects?
Uh, it's basically a social and political work, not exactly, but in somehow, when you look to reality, we gotta see every phase of it, every kind of aspect of it. So if we look to science in Brazil or to any other place in the country, you gotta see that there is a little bit of some social aspect related to it. So looking to Brazil science or Brazil technology is actually understanding how everything involved actually will influence in how we develop this project. So the main thing we got to do is actually this moral and social change in behavior and in way of thinking, point of view. You got to change how people look to scientists. A scientist cannot be something from outside or something from other country. A scientist is someone that is on our everyday life. It's academic researcher is not someone like that is not connected to our reality. Is actually someone that actually it is actually someone that helps our reality to be better and more constructive. So having this kind of social and political construction and reconstruction is the main part to build some kind of better project, mainly in a country like Brazil. So to change the way people look to science is to actually change the way people look to society, because we are not we cannot separate those kind of things. So the main work we gotta do is to show examples and to convince people to work on this kind of project. So if people actually want to work and if people actually want to develop some kind of project, we got to offer a base, other people to help. We got to connect them and do it practically. And it can come from any kind of way. You can do that using media, like social media. You can do that using physical projects. You can do that involving the families. You can do that involving the universities. And what SEDS does is to actually open these doors and let you think about every aspect of science. So SEDS is students for the exploration and development of space. You have students that want to explore and develop space, but they do not want to explore and develop space only in the engineering aspect. You have like astrobiology, you have like space policy, and every kind of aspect of space exploration can be literally explored. So you gotta offer people a new look into this kind of things, but mainly the way they look into knowledge and into everything we do in our everyday life. So okay, I like to do biology, and I'm absolutely I love science. I love biology. I love biology, and I love to look at the space. But I won't ever be able to build something related to the space because I love biology. But that's not true. That's not actually true. You can do anything can be related to science, space science. So the solution to build a better SEDS, a better SEDS Brazil, is to actually change the social view to knowledge, to change the way people look into space exploration and space development, and to science, technology, and education.
That's wonderful. So outside of SEDS Brazil, what is the status and stand of science and technology in the educational fabric of the in Brazil? And like what steps is the government body taking to oversee the development in science and technology?
SEDS Brazil, SEDS in general, is pretty related to students. And this is awesome because students have like a little bit of some different aspects when you look at how they work psychologically, neuropsychologically, and every social aspect, and having space as maybe um, this size of space. When you look to space, you see 1,000 stars at least, or a million stars. You have like these great pictures, these beautiful photos. You see images, and then you have this fascination, and this is space. We can go there. We can explore space. You can have this fascination. You can have this uh, almost instinctive feeling to actually change the way people look to science, because science is not this thing that only scientists does, only scientists do. It's not this thing that only academic researchers do. Science is on our everyday life. I was talking to someone these days, and the person said, yeah, the greatest science laboratory we have in our everyday life is our kitchen, right? Because it's where we actually prepare food, but actually where we use physics, we use chemistry to prepare everything. So we gotta change the way people look to science, and then provide a better education model. This may come from concentrated aspects, and begin this new science, new education model only in space exploration related disciplines, but it may actually start with this kind of fascination being used to convince people that they can do something great because they can see it and they can see other people exploring this space and changing the way people actually do technology, do science, do education is absolutely related to how they see themselves, right? Because if you are a scientist, you actually see your reality, your existence, your universe as something scientific. So when you fall in love with biology, you start seeing every aspect of life. You start seeing your cells. You start seeing how your brain works. You start seeing how the blood flows through your body. When you are in love with chemistry or with physics, you start seeing the water uh, how the water is behaving and how the electronic devices work. When you are in love with something, you start seeing the universe as something different. So using space is actually using our universe, our absolute universe, to show that everyone can participate in science, technology, and education because it's absolutely natural. Any kind of work you do, any kind of project you work on, is actually related to how you look to your existence, to your life. So having this space, this big big, something that is in our everyday life, actually influencing how people look to education and to tech, is not necessarily easier but more possible, because you use something that everyone sees, everyone feels, to convince everyone that they can do this, that they can work on it, that they can actually change something in their own lives using the knowledge they can obtain from that. So we don't use space exploration. Space exploration is not only for seeing the stars, taking great pictures or landing a rover on the moon, but we have satellites. We have like GPS. We have like social media and media, television, and everything is related to space exploration. Everything related to development and development of society, development of civilization is actually directly related to space and how we look at it. The the main construction of rational thinking, if you think about it, if you actually look at it, you see that the way we look to space is related to the way we look to animals, for example. A cat or a dog, they look at space and they see stars, but that's absolutely natural and absolute from them, for them. But when we look at space, if we are actually a evolved civilization, we are actually looking at new possibilities, and new homes, and new satellites, and new stars. So the way we understand our own universe affects the way we actually work on everything else, because everything else is contained inside our own universe. So seeing this space as something possible to achieve, something possible to change, is actually crucial to the development of better educational models, of better science models, and everything related to it. You can think about it like only social aspects and the way you think about it, but you can also think about, if we have greater satellites, we can do better experiments in microgravity and everything involved with it. So space is basically literally everything, and having better space development is crucial to the better social and society development. So if you want to develop science, education, and technology, and not only the development and exploration of space, you gotta know better what's happening around you, above, and and if you don't, you will only be like a cat or a dog. You will only be living, seeing everything as absolute and unchangeable.
That was a wonderful perspective. Estevão, of how general science and education is connected to space education. How do you see the future of SEDS Brazil in terms of local and international collaborations and future events?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
How do you see the future of SEDS Brazil in terms of local and international collaborations and future events? Like, what kind of projects would you like to undertake?
The first, I think the first step to develop local projects is to actually connect people. So we have a lot of researchers, like you have one researcher in one part of the country, and another researching like the opposite part of the country, and they are not talking to each other. So if someone is doing some project and other person is doing other project, maybe if they were connected and talking and communicating with themselves, they would be able to do something better and more with a greater range. So this is for local projects, and this is just the first step. For international projects, we have a lot of this natural communication and this natural accessibility of Brazilians, and having this kind of natural thing will help may help us to actually develop greater projects and team projects. You know what I mean? So having SEDS actually is being connected with SEDS Earth, SEDS Nations, SEDS Brazil can help us to actually enter the international community and everything related to it. So when you see like uh, some projects that are being developed by Brazil in partnership with China, they were developed once, and you don't have any other money being put in that or struggle actually. So there's not a lot of results being. We are not seeing a lot of results. We're not seeing something practical. But having said, having this international community help us to actually have different network development, this better network development, and actually show examples to local projects that something international is being done, and that's so we can do something local. So developing projects in Brazil is basically a little bit harder because of what I said earlier. You have this kind of culture that we're not able to actually build something more innovative or something newer. But even if it's not true, it's in some aspects right, because we don't have a lot of investment, we don't have a lot of money being put from the government in science and technology. But having something like SEDS Brazil may actually help the government and people to see that this is possible and that this is actually effective for the development of the society. I mean, you have like SEDS USA, you have like SEDS Japan. So, and if you actually show these examples, the projects being developed, you may actually have a base to ask for money. So we have this international community, we have this we have this will for science, technology, and learning, and we actually need this investment. This is the proof that we can do this, that it will actually work. So it involves a little bit more than just showing. It's a little bit more. It involves a little bit more of bureaucracy and formal documents, but basically it's how we can actually guarantee that it will work and that we will actually make it be developed and make it be something greater than what is already there.
That is great. Personally, what is your view on setting up of an innovation-driven aerospace industry in Brazil, outside of SEDS Brazil, that is actively involved in activities like launching rockets and satellites into space and doing astronomical research and research in other fields like astrophysics, astrochemistry? What is your view on personal view on that?
You mean like what projects are we developing?
Yes.
Yeah, the first we would love to start said Brazil, like sending someone to Mars. It would be absolutely awesome. But unfortunately, we don't have the amount of people and money necessary to do something like that. So the first steps of SES Brazil is actually to embrace the community, the social community, everyone involved with space, everyone involved with science, everyone involved with knowledge acquirement. So the first thing we're doing on SES Brazil is actually to show people how they can look at science differently. It would it isn't actually really, it isn't directly related to space, but it actually gives us a moral basis, you know, a moral, a social knowledge, so people know what SEDS is, and then people actually will fight for what SEDS can be. It means we're not right now building rockets or satellites or sending people to Mars yet, but we are actually building this community. We are actually trying to do things, do this transformation from what we have as a science culture and what we want to have as a science culture. So we gotta actually make people look at science as something different. And I already said this, but the main point right here is that people actually wanna do something practical. So you want to be involved to actually build rockets, right? So, but we don't have the money and the amount of people to do this right now. But we can show people that it can actually do things related to it. So we can show how to use propellant, or how to use some parts of a rocket, and how the programming, you know, informatics programming works, computational programming, simulations. You can do this kind of things, but mainly you gotta you gotta you gotta have people from what they love. So the main thing is to be like, you have everyone that loves to look at the stars, then you have everyone that actually loves to study stars, and then you have people that actually are working on it. And we gotta actually value these three stages, because all of them are absolutely important to the building of great organizations, mainly here in Brazil. We have, unfortunately, and for now, really more people that are only, you know, that only love to watch stars, to, you know, observe stars. We have a little bit less people that actually study stars, and we have really really few people that are actually doing research and working on it. So the main thing is to actually show these people studying stars that they can come for from come for SEDS, come to SEDS, and come to this science and technology related to space community. We have this international community already, SEDS Earth. We have this like in SEDS USA, SEDS India, SEDS Japan, but we actually want to have a kind of different look to space exploration in Brazil. So, I mean, we are absolutely trying to develop radical projects, you know, build satellites and build rockets and send people to Mars, but it's a little bit not realistic to do this right now in Brazil. So it's not that we have more theory than practice, but we have more preparation and development than necessarily exploration. You know, we're not stop it. We are not, you know, in one point. We are actually evolving, but we are evolving as a person. You know, we're kind of trying to do this as a whole, not one thing. So we don't want to do like a great project. I don't know, like have an astronaut giving a talk, or actually building a rocket, or send people to ISS or to moon or to the moon. But and then we have this great project, and we cannot maintain this kind of activity, and then it will go down. We actually want to start low and go higher. Got it? So I assume it's the better way to actually show people that they can do something, and that they can mainly participate space. So if people see this thing evolving because they are working on it, they will be absolutely more. They will be like, they will want to participate. They will want to do research. They will want to work on it. They will have this will. They will have this will to make it greater and make like, okay, this is SEDS Brazil. This is my country. This is the thing we gotta make bigger. And it will be important to my family. It will be important for me. It will be important for everyone, to the world, but mainly for Brazil.
Ah, all right. Thank you for this wonderful space talk, Estevão. Would you like to share anything else with us?
Yeah, there are a lot of other countries in SEDS Earth nations, among SEDS Earth nations, that are actually they have like a lot of common conditions with Brazil. So you know, you have like some countries that are having some struggles to develop projects as Brazil is having. So the thing I want to say is we are together. We want to do this together. We are building something great, and it will actually worth. It will be worth it at the end. And this development, this struggle, will actually build a so strong community that will be able to develop a lot of great projects. Mainly because we'll have a lot of people involved with that and loving doing this. So we got to think about it almost philosophically, right? Because we got to actually understand why we are working on that, and why people are actually putting their lives on that. You have like a lot of researchers, astronauts, and entrepreneurs that are actually putting everything they have into space. Not only because space is beautiful, not only because space is actually cool to live, but because we need this. We need space exploration. We need space exploration uh, around Earth, but we actually need to think about how to maintain humanity species, right? So we gotta preserve Earth, but actually think about some kind of alternatives. And having space exploration is a philosophical question, is a philosophical, social question, because you think about how society and civilization will evolve and how we need actually some kind of expansion, right? So having this kind of exploration and this kind of development is important in a lot of ways, because you have like this different point of view for science and technology, this possibility to change social aspects based in science exploration, in space exploration, but you also have this kind of to future consequences. So you have like, if you work on that right now, you may be able to live in a better country, you may be able to live in a better planet, you may be able to live in a better society. So SEDS Brazil is actually here to develop Brazil, is actually here to develop the world. And we are only here because we want to change the way people look to science. We want to change the way people look to technology. So there's no actually there's no actually something that can explain why people think science is so far away. It's not. Science is on our everyday life, on everything. And when you start understanding science, when you start understanding technology, when you start understanding space exploration, everything changes, because you have this kind of responsibility to make something greater than you would make not exploring science. You don't need to be like Albert Einstein or Nikola Tesla, but if you study science, philosophy, biology, physics, chemistry, space, you may be able to live a happier life. You may be able to do greater projects. You may be able to actually make things better in a lot of ways. So having said Brazil is like expanding this individual thinking, this individual personality to something as broad as a country. And SEDS Earth is this awesome project, this awesome initiative that I'm really proud to be part of. that actually makes possible this kind of look into science and look into space as something unique, as something needed. And having SEDS Earth is actually expanding this individual thinking to a country thinking and then to a planet thinking. Maybe someday we'll have a SEDS Mars, and then we can say we have almost a solar thinking, right? We can expand it even more. So having SEDS is the opportunity to unite students, to unite everyone actually worried with space and with science, to change things, to change the world, to change the planet we're living in, to change the way we look to life. So this is it. I actually thank you very much, Jay, who is asking the questions. And if anyone watching want to ask any questions, please just do it.
We'll hang on for a few moments till if any viewers have any questions.
Okay, someone just kind of said that my English is good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So Jay, please present yourself to everyone watching.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Jay Kamdar from SEDS India. And today was a wonderful talk, Estevão. We all really appreciate the perspectives that you shared today. And we hope to have more space talks from SEDS Earth as a part of SEDS Earth.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jay. Jay's doing a great work, setting everything up and, making space talks, this World Space Week talks possible. And he's, working a lot. He's the guy. He's the guy responsible for these talks. Thank you very much, Jay.
Thank you so much, Estevão. All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Please stay tuned in to SEDS Earth. We have a Facebook page, and the website is sedsearth.org. Please have a look at that. And we also have a newsletter. You can subscribe to it on seds.org, seds.org. Thank you, everyone.
Let's just take a look. I think someone actually asked a question.
Okay.
Cassiano asks, which are the main issues SEDS are involved abroad the world? I think me and Jay and I can actually respond to that, but we are actually working on space exploration and development, and a lot of different nations are actually working on something critical. So SEDS USA is developing satellites and CubeSats, and they are really doing orbital rockets and everything else. So we have these different stages of evolution. You start a little bit low, and then you get to this level where you are practically sending people to Mars, right, Jay?
Yes, that's true. The SEDS is basically a student organization that helps around with spreading knowledge about space, and it's the advances we are involved in. And we also get involved in projects such as we had a project called SEDSat, which was basically a collaboration between the nations to make a student satellite, which can be launched in space by a private space company. And recently have an advance that SEDS USA has collaborated with two companies that have agreed to launch the CubeSats into space, which is a prerogative of SEDSat 2 project. and we hope to have many more collaborations as we progress in future.
Yeah. Yeah, SEDS Earth is actually the opportunity to start this formal collaboration between nations. So, I mean, Jay is from SEDS India, right? And I'm from SEDS Brazil, and we are working together in a lot of different aspects. We are like developing these setups for the Workspace Week talks, but we are also able to, in the future, develop some kind of radical project. So like some formal research and some formal, issue uh, resolving, right? So there are a lot of possibilities in having SEDS Earth, having SEDS community, international community, is the opportunity to actually change the way we develop science and space science as a world, as a planet, right? I think someone asked you a question, Jay.
All right, we have a question. Do you see any similarity in the science standards between India and Brazil? Yes, actually, the main focus of SEDS, I believe, is the same in Brazil, that we need to get out space education in among the student body, in the local student body, and in students of high school. Actually, in SEDS India, we have an initiative called Outreach, where we SEDS members of SEDS go to high schools and local schools, colleges, to spread knowledge about space. We hold classroom events about space where we lecture them about different topics of space exploration and astronomy and many other interesting subjects. And we also have activities that, like major events. We have a major event called SEDS India National Conference called SYNC every year, where we gather around lecturers and professors from different universities, and we have activities like making water rockets, maybe, and solar astronomy and stuff like that. The basic aim remains the same between SEDS India and SEDS Brazil, is to spread knowledge about space. And what this will achieve is we can have more space professionals in the future, and the students will be motivated to work in the space industry.
Right. Yeah. Uh, Joyce just asked, how do you pretend to make the science in Brazil to be more like a unit and not isolated project? We have this kind of Brazilian way of communicating, this different, creativity, and having this kind of opportunity to actually unite people, can be achieved like if you have like isolated projects, isolated research, you can actually change the way they communicate. So you can use that. You can do that by social media. You can do that using like community projects or something like what Jay said. You can do this a broad, more broad projects involving high schools or local schools that may actually spread knowledge about space and science and technology related to space. So connecting people has a lot of is involved with a lot of aspects, but mainly with social aspects. So you gotta actually make people see themselves as a whole. So you gotta make people actually look to science as something possible. And if science is possible, if science is achievable, you actually will be able to actually talk to someone that actually also does science. And if you have this kind of communication, then you can develop something more that has greater unit, right? But it can come from like creating a YouTube channel or having like projects involving children that will talk to their parents and that will talk to their friends, and it will be spread. But mainly evolving like greater range media, probably like a YouTube channel or a Facebook page or a Twitter profile or a Reddit community. But we can do a lot of things. There are a lot of possibilities, and we can do this. We're not limited to what's being done already. SEDS actually is the possibility to unite students that want to build something greater, and convince them that they are able to do this. We are able to be united. We are able to do something as great as other countries are doing already. So having greater space agencies, government space agencies, and laboratories, and we don't have like a Brazilian NASA. We don't have this. We don't have this. We have like INPE, that is the National Institute for Spatial Research, but it's not exactly like something that actually participates in students, university students' lives. So we don't have like internships for students that are studying space-related disciplines. You just have this like institution that is isolated from everything. And if we can connect people, we can connect institutions, we can connect universities, and then we can build a better space country, right?
Do we have any more questions from our viewers?
Okay, I think this is it. Anyone has any more questions? Yeah, we have this kind of like 1 minute delay, so people will see us like looking to nothing, looking at nothing. Okay, Jay, I think this is it. Thank you everyone for watching, and we will have like more Word Space Week talks. If you guys want to watch, tomorrow, I think some talk will happen, but it will be we'll actually share this talk to you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Goodbye.